Welcome to August in my Zone 3 garden. Hi and welcome. If you're new here, my name is Kayla. This is 5 Canadian acres. We're gardening on 5 acres in Alberta, Canada. Today is August 25th and we are really at the height of our growing season. So let's go see what's going on. So over here, our sugar magnolia snap peas have all died back and they are starting to dry up there. We're going to be saving those for seeds as well as the radishes here. Once the pods get too far gone, they're not really edible. So these are the pods drying up. Throughout this tour, you'll probably see a lot of things I'm saving for seed, and I'm going to do a whole separate video all about how and what I'm saving for seed. Then on the back here were some Sweet 100 tomatoes that I planted pretty late, and I don't really see much for this one here is actually a Gardener's Delight that I planted earlier than these ones. So I don't know if I'm going to get any of those, but we'll see. These onions, some of them are coming around. It's just going to be small little bulbs, but the onions I planted pretty late are going to be small. Here's some chives that I planted from seed in the spring. They're doing good. They'll hopefully come back next year. And the Swiss chards kind of starting to die off a little bit. I keep picking as much as I can. In the back here, some more of those. These are, I think, a snow pea that I'm saving for seeds as well. And these are astupes. These are just some random tomatoes that I threw in here. But as you can see, they grow up really nice and tall. I do have two of my sun golds here on the end. And past these marigolds are my other two sun golds. And you'll see the tomatoes are finally starting to ripen. It's so nice. All the way over to this side, and you can see these are the sun golds. These are our favorites. They're super prolific. The first usually to ripen. And I actually even like them. These ones are a sweet gold. So you can see this one's not wanting to come off very easily. It's not quite ripe yet, but when you pick them and they just fall off really easily, you know that they are ripe. So my daughter's my taste test, and flavor wise, she likes the sweet gold. The sun gold, definitely still the favorites. These are a yellow pear. They're not a favorite of ours. I only grew one, so I don't think I'll probably grow any next year. Then in here are the sunrise bumblebee. And I think there are actually a few that are ripe. You really got to dig down in the back of them here. And yeah, there's a sunrise bumblebee. So we're getting those ones to be ripe too. And more crazy marigolds, tomatoes spilling out into the aisle. So over here, I think in the corner is the Gandalf, and there's nothing that has ripened on that yet. This next one over here is the amethyst cream. And we have been getting a few ripened, but I think they've been eaten. They really lighten up on the bottom. I actually have a few over in the middle I'll show you. And these are the amethyst jewel. Nothing really right there. Next are the black strawberry, which there's a ton on here, but that's the next one. They just don't seem to be ripening, but there are a ton, and they're actually a pretty big size. That one's getting close. And then these ones are the atomic grape. I didn't think they were going to be this big. They're a pretty big tomato, and again, we've only had a couple ripe off of there, but they're getting close. It's harder with the darker ones to tell. I usually just give them a squeeze, or you look for the little bit of green to start changing color. And then in the front here are the peppers. I can't even remember what we planted here. These are, oh, the Sugar Rush Peach, yes, and there are some pretty good ones. If we go way down in here, they're actually pretty loaded. And these are a spicy pepper, so I'm probably going to have to come in and pick some of these soon. And then beside that are what's called a Frigitello, and I don't really see too much. We have picked some peppers. Over here, these ones are, we got one little pepper on this guy here, and these are the sweet cubanelles. So we are getting a few. I haven't picked many of the sweet cubanelles. We'll get a few from there. More giant marigolds, which are really pretty. And the bees love them, good for pollinators. At the back there, you can see that's all the cucamelons. And I should probably go on the other side because you can see them a lot better. You don't get this angle much, but from the other side, it's just crazy. I think next year I want to plant maybe a whole bunch of flowers here that'll grow really nice. But yeah, here's the cucamelons. And they've really filled in. I mean, I think I planted a lot there. Getting some good ripe ones here now. So we have been picking them. And if I get enough, I might do even some pickled. My husband described it really well. It kind of reminded him of like a watermelon rind. So there's a lot of recipes out there you see for pickled watermelon rind. So I'll use one of those recipes with these cucamelons and we'll see how it turns out. And these are the melons. I haven't I'm getting little tiny melons on there, but they're not really getting pollinated. The watermelons kind of got a little bit of a disease on them, these cantaloupe. I pulled out that mystery thing. It was growing into some weird squash and I just could have been cross-pollinated. I wasn't sure, it was taken over, so I pulled it out. And then here we have another cantaloupe, which again, I'm just getting small little things there. Small little cantaloupes there. So I don't think we're going to get anything. You can see the good peppers from back here too. These are my paprika peppers. So, I mean, I don't really get a lot of melons anyways. I'm going to try. We're going to keep trying every year and we'll see if we ever get some. So we'll go back down here in front of the cucamelons. Again, we've got more peppers. And there is a ton. These are the sweet chocolates. So you can see there's a ton of peppers down in there. They're going to turn to like a brown color. Now these are the Torador. I am really loving these peppers. These are super thick walled. When you cut it open, it's very, very thick. So if you're doing something that needs a green pepper, one of these goes a long way. And these ones are the habanadas. And honestly, I don't really even think I see any on there. This little melon's kind of squeaking out here. Oh, look, there's a little spider. That is a jumping spider. But we like the spiders because the aphids go after the peppers a lot. So then they can go and eat up all those. But I don't really see anything on this plant. If we go next, those are those paprika peppers over here. And there's quite a few little ones. I don't know if I'm going to get, oh, I need to turn. As I say that, I look in here, look, he's way spent. He's never going to get bigger once you see those lines. But hey, we got a little bit of a red paprika pepper. Go back here, this is my weedy mess, needs to be weeded. But it's growing in pretty good, a lot of perennials. Rose bush, it's keep getting more roses. We've got some lemon balm and some bee balm. Chives have done really well, oregano. These are winter onion. Finally got some blooms on this dragon balm, which is really pretty. And again, all those pollinators love this type of stuff. The lavender is actually going to start to bloom, maybe. Oh yeah, there it is. Some blooms off the lavender this year in the thyme. And then I don't know if I showed last time, but this is all catnip at the back there. I had planted a bunch of mints and catnip in the back, never came back. But somehow this one made it through and it's growing, so we'll let that one grow. Now this is a big mess over here on the table. Stuff just hasn't gotten watered or nutrients. You can see that it's just dying. But we'll get a few tomatoes off of these plants. Here's the amethyst cream actually. And you can see how it goes pretty yellow. And this has a really good flavor according to my daughter as well. Oops, see, that one just kind of fell off, so it is more than ready. So I always want to start liking tomatoes. I am going to try one of these amethyst creams. I haven't tried one yet. The only ones I really like to eat are the sun gold, so we'll see. It's actually not bad. It's not as sweet as the sun gold, but it doesn't have that really strong tomatoey flavor. I don't know. And I think the littler ones, because a lot of it has to do with texture. So I'm going to grow these amethyst cream again. The mint's looking really good. I keep harvesting off of this and drying it. And then we come over to our tomato bed. And as you can see, everything has fallen over. These are my Kalinka Malinkas. This is why you need to trellis them or put them in a tomato cage. I just had this little tiny cage here. It didn't do much. But as you can see, there's a ton of them ripening. We have been harvesting quite a few off of them as well and making things. I've made some salsa. And these are actually really cool. So like I said, these are the Kalinka Malinkas. And they are just like your picture perfect tomato. Just that shape, and you cut them open and it looks like a tomato that you'd buy from the store. So we're definitely going to grow these ones next year. And these are the determinate. So as you can see, this is what it means by determinate. So you can see these blossoms are dead, but there's no more flowers on these plants. They're just right now into producing their tomatoes. And I'll show you down below how, actually here, I like to see there's flowers here, but they form the tomatoes and that's it. So I'll show you down below some of our other indeterminate tomatoes where they have a lot of flowers on them still. I planted carrots earlier in the year, so we might get a few carrots now that everything's fallen over and they can grow a little bit more. We have our King of the North peppers. We did pick a few off of these, and there's some more, but they're not like super huge. I actually think I like those Toradors better as a green pepper. I think you just get more off of them. But other than that, they've done pretty good. I did plant some carrots in front that are struggling, but we might get a few. I planted some zinnias over here. As you can see, there's a little bee on that one. Everything's going crazy. This chamomile's gone to seed. I'm going to collect seeds from that. Morning Glory and the grapes are just all intertwined. The garlic that I left the bulbs on has fallen over. And if we can find one, you can see that's what it looks like. So there's all these tiny little baby garlic bulbs or something. And we'll plant them, but they won't get garlic for 2 years. So I'm going to plant a few rows of these so we can start our own garlic. Ochre, yeah, has not done much. You can see I got one onion in there. It's going to be all right. These are the shishito peppers. We've picked a bunch of those, and they're pretty good. Same with the jalapenos. I have made a round of salsa. And if you watch Roots and Refuge on YouTube, her roasted tomato salsa, it's so good. I used half of the jalapenos and half of the nadapinos, and they turned out really, really well. This lettuce is okay. There's a really buggy. There's a lot of aphids in here, but we're still going to get lots of really good fruit, so I'm okay with that. This is a stinging nettle. I have quite a few that kind of pop up. You can see right there and stuff too. And I'm just going to wait and collect them and dry them, and I use them for like a tonic. So here we go into the nadapinos. And we did do quite a big pick on them, but there are still quite a few big ones. The lettuce is starting to get a little bit like bolty, going to seed, but I have some more succession plants coming, so that'll be good because it also got really damaged by bugs, and it was stressed out with all that weird weather, and that never helps. This is a nice big one here, actually. These are the nadapinos. They are good. Little marigold starting to flower, so we might have a pretty little couple of weeks till our frost. And down here, I did cover this. You can see weeds try to come through, so I'm just trying to kill off all the grass in here. And nothing really going on much here. It's hard to grow things in pots because they dry out a lot quicker. You definitely have to take care of them more. As you can see, these pepper plants are not doing so good. And everything's really overgrown here. It needs a little bit of a refresh before winter. I do have my ground cherries, which we have been getting a few, but these thistles get a lot of bugs on them. So as you can see, it's just hard to go in here and pick my little ground cherries, and a lot of them end up falling and rotting. But the grapes are doing good. I'll show you at the end because they're easier to see for the other side. And there's that big horseradish bush. This will be harvested after our first frost or two. And this cherry tree is going to become a tree because I'm going to have to trim up a whole bunch of stuff here. And that's okay if I don't mind if it gets into be a big tree, because if it shades a little bit of this garden, I'll be able to grow more of the greens. And same here, lots of weeds need to be pulled. But we're into our second flush of strawberries now. So these are the everbearing. So they produce in the spring, and then they start to throw off runners, and then they come up with the second flush in the fall, and they'll produce all the way up until first frost. So I really enjoy the everbearing ones because they actually get really big still. They've thrown off lots of runners into my aisle that I'll have to pick and transplant. But we've been picking lots, and there's lots more flowers coming up. So as long as we have a late frost, we'll keep eating on those. Here are the two beds that I just planted recently in my video with the square planter. And if you look over here, you can see we actually have, over here, there it is, some lettuce coming up already, which is really nice. And radishes usually pop up pretty quick too. Yeah, there we go. There's a little baby radish. So it's going to be nice here. As they pop up, we'll get to see how that square cedar goes. And I did leave this kale in here because this is our favorite kale. And the broccoli I did not pull up because it's been covered. It's not so much now, but those yellow flowers were everywhere, and it was just covered with bees. So I decided to leave it for the bees to enjoy. And I mean, there's still a lot of them. Let me come over here. This is the second planting I did of beans, and actually it looks like it's going to be time to start picking these ones, which is perfect because my other ones are almost done. That's actually really exciting. We really love pickled beans or just green beans. We're going to hopefully get some onion seeds from these guys. If you look at the garden from this angle, this is the August garden. It's just an abundance of beautiful plants and veggies growing and weeds and everything. These are the tasty green cucumbers and we've gotten a ton. I have to come pick them again, but they're really good, just as like a long English cucumber kind of style with a really good flavor. These are the first planting of beans. So we still have some that we can pick in here, but a lot of them just kind of got too big. So I'm going to leave some of them to save for some seeds. And then that'll be the last for these guys. And then next into our pepper plants with the lettuce. This has really worked out, these lettuces. I'm getting some super awesome, lovely lettuce, which is nice. Whereas the ones you can see where I didn't thin them, there is a lot more disease, a lot more of everything. So we definitely want to be thinning that lettuce out if you want to get those nice heads. And then these are the King Crimson peppers. We have gotten a couple, but I've picked them. The poblano peppers, again, a couple just smaller ones. And then these next ones are the sweet cubanelle, which we haven't had very many. And then last, these are a frigitella, which actually remind me a little of the torador, but they don't seem to be producing as much. Into the next bed. Again, oh, look at caterpillars. This is what you get with an organic garden. You get lots of little poop and lots of little critters. But, oops, sorry, buddy. I disturbed you. I'm okay with that. I just grow lots of food and just be part of the environment. Whoa, there's a lot of them on there. I'm going to have to look up and see what those guys are. If anybody knows what that's going to become, we'll have to let me know. But I am getting a red pepper there, which is kind of cool. And these are the salsa blend. So I don't really know what's totally what. I'm having a few ideas, but like these little like Thai chilies or cayennes, like I have no idea how to tell out what's what. But I think this one's a jalapeno, so that's nice. Almost need to come and pick those as well. And these are other beans. Again, they're getting close to being done. These were the yellow ones. And then we have the dragon tongue, which are really pretty. These ones, if they get too big, they're not very good. But at this size, it's okay to eat. And then these ones were the royal, I think they're called a royal burgundy. I just call them a purple bean. So we've picked lots of those as well. And then in the back were all of our cucumbers, my pickling cucumbers, which I definitely need to get out and pick because as you can see, oops, there's some big ones there. That's kind of too big. You can cut that one up for relish, but for pickles, we like them a little smaller, like more of this size. And this was all of a mix. I kind of mixed up the pickling ones over here. I'm not sure what's what, but that's okay. They've all done really well. The, look, oh my God, there's a huge one right there. Really time to get in here. There's actually one here that I saw that, again, I'm saving for seed. You can see it down there. See how it's kind of gone orange? You can tell it's way past spent. Actually, and then, so that one probably can be picked pretty soon. And then over here, I do have some other ones here. I'll go to the other side again. It's probably easier to see. That these were this white, I think they called it the Ghost in the Wind, which I got at a seed swap. And again, they have not grown very much. I have not had one ripe one off of it. You can see in there, these ones here, these are the lemon cucumber that I planted beside it. But I haven't had one. There are a white one, so. Oh, here, I think this is it. This is it here. So this will be my first one. So probably not going to plant those again, but that's okay. It's always fun to see. And then this one here is the dragon egg cucumber, which is pretty cool. The flavor, honestly, I like these white ones. They're very mild, but they're all very similar. The lemon one does have a bit of a citrusiness to it. There's just the white pickling one in there, and we've really enjoyed those, as well as just the regular old pickling one. These ones are good if you cut them in spears. Not too bad. And then, yeah, this is my second planting of cucumbers, and they're just starting to get their little cucumbers, so we'll see if we get much of a harvest, but I guess anything's better than nothing if we get a late frost. And then I did want to show, this is my Armenian cucumber. I had one, actually there's another little guy coming on here, but this guy. So this is actually technically a melon, but you pick it like this, and it's very mild like a cucumber, and I've had that before, and it's pretty good. So this one's going to need to be picked right away here. I'm going to do a big cucumber pick. There's a ton back here. And then this is my little fall garden. As you can see, these are the Calabrese broccoli, and they have already bolted. So I don't think I'll be planting those again. but all my cabbages are looking pretty good. Now, I normally don't spray anything on my garden, but as you can see, there's a ton of those white moths, which lay the caterpillars, which eat the broccoli and the cabbage and the brassicas. And they've been going to town on mine. So I did go and buy, it's called BTK. It is an organic insecticide that just goes after these guys. So I did spray them, and I'm gonna probably spray them one more time here because I do wanna get a harvest off of this stuff. And in front here, we have the daikon radishes and some watermelon radishes. And those ones are doing pretty good. You can see the beets have come up really nicely. Again, I got to get in here and weed as usual. And down the middle is carrots, and they're coming along pretty good. And then more beets in the corner. This is where I just went and scattered them and sprinkled on top. Look, guys, I mean, stuff just wants to grow. Like, we're going to get a lot of good beets off of there. Kind of missed a bit at the back. It's hard to see from the other side, but I did plant some late sunflowers. They're probably not going to bloom, but they're pretty. And then I did put in some cilantro down here. Now, cilantro does not like the heat, so I figured maybe it would grow. It is growing, but super slow, so I probably won't get enough. I'm not a cilantro fan anyways, but and I can see here at the back, we can see these lemonade cascade beans. I don't know if a dragon tongue got mixed in or what, but these are really good. I think we're going to grow a lot of these next year because at this stage, they're really good. Even if they get a little bit too big, like at this stage, those dragon tongues would be too bad, but these, good. Very, very tender still. And actually, they're just really pretty. I really like that color. The hanging basket tomatoes totally died off. We've just been harvesting the tomatoes as they ripen. And these are more cucumbers for pickling. So again, those have been harvested. Not often enough. Like, look at this guy. They're so easy to miss and they get so big. But you can slice these ones up at this stage and there's still lots you can do with them. This is actually one of my favorite parts of the garden this year. With all of there's yarrow and catnip and sunflowers. And this is that Mexican sunflower and the whole row of zinnias. Finally, now we got some bachelor buttons blooming. It's just been really fun. And then you just kind of walk on in through, which is pretty neat. I did pick a few bouquets, but most I've just let them be here for beauty in the garden. These are the black turtle beans, which are to dry, and we are getting quite a few. They're just going to be like a dry black bean. They're still putting on ones. I don't think these will mature, but those ones below should hopefully get to dry. I think you want to dry on the vine. So again, there's all those cucumbers, and I do have some beets in front as well, which are getting close actually. And yeah, those cascade beans, they've just done super awesome as well, growing so tall. And just, they're really pretty with all of their pink. And then yeah, I do have some marigolds coming up here too as well. They didn't have good germination, so I threw the bachelor buttons in, and it's going to be a pretty little mix. So again, in the August garden, things just get so overwhelmed. You're trying to pull things in and do stuff. This is normal. There's so many gardens out there that look like this, and it doesn't mean that you've given up. It just means that you're prioritizing what needs to be done. And this will still produce a ton of food. Lots of dill coming in, lots of dill falling over. We've got these really pretty teddy bear sunflowers, which have actually already going to seed for some of them, which maybe I'll just save some seeds, but those are really nice. And then these are just my circle of tomatoes. And then you can see the squash has grown right through. Those are those pretty sunflowers. And we're getting some ripe ones in here, a little bit down below. Not a whole lot because they do like the sun to ripen. So if they're too shaded out, they won't ripen as quickly, but that's no problem. And over here behind here, this is another second planting of green beans. These are the Blue Lake bush beans, and I'm not a big fan. They're already starting to yellow and they've barely just been producing. So I don't know if I'll plant these ones next year. I really like the Provider. And then over to our squashes, which have done amazing. I'll probably step on a few here, but these are our spaghetti squash. And you can see they're actually starting to die back, the vines, which is fine because we have a ton out there. And then these are those sunshine squash, which we have quite a few of. And I'll show you the other butternuts. And then what else did we have? Oh yeah, we also have, I'm going to step over here. If we go down in here, where are you, my candy roaster? Oh, it's one more step over. There it is. Amongst all this craziness is another candy roaster squash, which is kind of exciting. And then you can see that green one there, that is a buttercup squash. So we are going to have quite a bit of squash come out of this area. And then onto our tomatoes. I'm slowly trying to take back a hold of it, but I just wanted to show you a couple of them. This one here is the Hungarian heart. And actually I need to pick this because it's going to start to rot. But guys, this thing is huge. Like my hand. This is huge. Or maybe if I put my hand on the outside, it'd be a better idea. But anyway, so that one's really good. We're starting to get some ripe ones. And we've been picking. I'll do a big comparison video hereafter, but these are the Elizabeth Roma. They have a few little marks. I think that's just from bugs, but they're still edible. I'm getting a lot of ripe ones off there. And the San Marzano. And then the Amish paste. The Amish paste are doing pretty good. They're actually a little bit bigger than the San Marzano for the same production, but I think the Elizabeth Roma have grown the most. We've got some Cherokee Purple, again, another really big one here that is going to have to be picked soon. As soon as they start to blush, I like to pick them to give the other ones a chance to ripen. We go into the Paul Robeson, and I think there's a Black Crim in there. The Sunflower Flare. These ones are really cool because they start out like purple. So this is like unripe. And then as they ripen, this one's actually ripe, they turn kind of like a pinky. Yeah, this is just a really pretty tomato. This is called the Sunflower Flare. That we'll just have to cut out. Put that one in our little pile. And then these are the Aunt Ruby's German Green. I've come to realize green tomatoes kind of turn yellow as they ripen. So those are ripe. I have to come in here and do a big harvest. And also I've been forgetting to show my basil. This is a cinnamon basil. It has kind of struggled. It's gotten choked out by a lot of the tomatoes, but we'll get a little bit off of there. And this is my other big tomato. This one is the Golden King of Siberia. Really big tomato. So a lot of big ones in there. We'll be starting to harvest a lot soon. I actually did a video last year, and I'll probably do another one about how pretty soon I'm going to be cutting off all of these blossoms and such, because there's not going to be time. We only have maybe 3 weeks, maybe a month to our first frost. And I forgot to show you here, as you can see. So yeah, these are the indeterminates. So they still are just putting on blossoms after blossom after blossom. So we're just going to go ahead and cut those all off so it can actually produce the tomatoes that it has before the frost. Over here in our little perennial bed, this is the marshmallow, which is growing really awesome. It is going to flower, which is very exciting. I'm growing this for the root, so I won't be able to get anything this year, but next year we'll do a harvest from there. Lots of nice borage. That stuff does not struggle. It just takes over. Rhubarb's looking great. Mint's all looking great. These are some turnips that I just kind of threw here, so I should come in and thin that. Maybe we'll get a little bit more turnip. So the celery's grown really well. There's lots of bugs and slugs in it. I'm going to have to see if there's an organic way to deal with that. The few onions that I have are good. The peas have mostly died off. We're saving some for seed there. We've harvested a lot of the carrots. We have a little bit of carrots left there. And then on this side, most of this has all been harvested. The garlic was here, which we harvested. It's drying. There is a little bit of potato still in the ground over there. We'll have to rescue from the weeds. And then we're just going to have to get this tilled covered or whatever we decide to do with it. The beets and the turnips and the rutabagas are all doing really good. We've got some carrots that are struggling along. Root vegetables are nice because you can kind of just leave them in the ground and they'll just stay there, and then you pick them as you need them. And then even if we get a couple of frosts, that actually makes them a little sweeter. So these guys, we're just harvesting as we need them. Might do a little batch of pickled beets, but I do have a lot of more beets growing, so there's no shortage there. And I'll do a big harvest video because I do have some big rutabagas in there that are pretty interesting. And then again, those are the potatoes that have all died back. We're going to be picking those. We've had a lot of rain again, but it's supposed to be nice for a week. So I'm really next week going to be picking up all those potatoes. And here are our zucchini, which you guys just can't leave zucchini for 2 seconds and it just grows. So we've got some green zucchini. The yellow zucchini is still growing really big. The patty pans, I've come to the conclusion I don't need 4 patty pan squashes because they're just growing like crazy. Pumpkins are looking really good. We're gonna have a ton of white pumpkins to carve this year. No green ones, or sorry, no orange ones. They're green when we pick them usually, and they turn orange, but these ones won't. I think I have one little guy over here that's starting to even turn orange on us. Looks like another one might be coming along, but they won't get much size to them. And this dill has all kind of died back, so not even much for seed almost. That looks like it just dried out. But it looks like we'll get a little bit of seed over there. This was all volunteer dill, so I just keep saving the seed and replanting or letting it plant itself every year. Over to our corn, which we've harvested a few little guys, but there's not much size to them. Again, you need to plant them more blocky. But once these dry up, I guess they're ready to go. So we did harvest a few, but there's a few bites on there. This one's a bit bigger, actually. These are those Simonette corns. So I think we're going to plant them again next year, but just a whole lot more. And then these are the popcorn, the Tom Thumb popcorn. This is kind of cool. You want to let them dry right on the vine. So hopefully we'll get a few of those. But if you look, these are little side shoots that come out the bottom. And normally at the top, you can see it's supposed to do a tassel. But these ones are kind of growing a cob off the top instead of a tassel. I did do a little research, and I guess that when they're first forming the tops and the bottom parts, they have both male and female parts, and then they just switch over to a male part up top and the female below. But sometimes on these little side shoots, that doesn't happen, and the parts like that one would have been the female flowers got left on the top, and so they started growing there, which is kind of interesting. This is the einkorn wheat, black einkorn wheat we have growing, and I'm hoping it's going to dry out because you can see it starts with this little sheath kind of, and then this one's starting to dry out. So we might get a little bit of this einkorn wheat, and I'm just hoping to grow enough that I can expand my seeds and have more seeds to plant next year. These crazy tall country gentleman corn, and they are just starting to tassel. So I'm not even sure if we're going to get corn off of there, but we'll have to wait and see if we sometimes we get a really late frost. I just love growing it too, just because it's so tall. It's really kind of fun. And I'll just show you the last few things on the deck. There's not much going on there. A lot of the flowers have died. But actually, oh, I forgot to show you this part here too, behind the tomatoes. Turn you around here. And these are actually, this is my Brussels sprouts that I planted. Now, I don't think we're going to get much for Brussels sprouts, but you know, I don't know. They can handle the frost. And we're actually, it looks like we might, that's where they're going to start, right kind of in the armpit. There's some little ones starting, so we might get a few baby Brussels sprouts. And I did plant a little more kale over there as well. And here's the other side of the squash. You can see it's just growing out like crazy. There's actually a really big one in here. I can find it. Yeah, there's a guy that he's probably ready almost to pick right now. So I wanted to come back over here because I'll show you the grapes that, you know, you see them one day they're green, the next day you look over and they're not. So as you can see here, they're starting to turn really nice purple. These can actually get touched with a little bit of frost. We did catch the dog trying to eat them the other day though, so we might need to pick them and just make some jelly with them now. And then just the extra oregano and sage and spearmint. Flowers trucking along. These flowers kind of died off. I'm getting some peppers on here, which are kind of neat. These are they're like, it's a variegated, and actually the peppers are almost coming out a little variegated. So a lot of these flowers have kind of died. Just going to collect the seeds. This is the lemon verbena. Here's the tiny Tim. And as you can see, like I said, it's just kind of flopped over because it got so heavy. But there are finally getting to be some ripe tomatoes deep in there. And then this is that fat frog, which as you can see, I think this one might be ripe finally because it's kind of getting a bit of a yellow tinge to it. There is the craziness of the August garden in zone 3. A ton growing, a ton yet to harvest, lots and lots to do still. Everything seems to creep in so slow. In July, you're like just waiting. August hits and it's go time, and it's go time until the frost. But that's okay, I'm here for it because I know on those cold, long winter nights, I will be craving this beautiful, lush green garden. And if you missed any of my last garden tours, I'll put the playlist here. And as always, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.